Hello, boils and ghouls. My name is Ashley, and this week I watched What We Do in the Shadows episodes 1 through 3. We got spoiled with the 3 episode premiere for the final season. Since the beginning of this series, we've heard about Jerry from the other vampires, and finally we get to meet him. Apparently, he's been in the house the entire time. He went into a deep sleep like 50 years ago, and they were supposed to wake him up New Year's Eve of 96, and of course they forgot. Personally, I wouldn't trust them with something like that, but maybe they were more reliable 50 years ago. The awakening of Jerry really shakes things up for the roommates, and he even reminds them of things they have failed to accomplish, like conquering the New World or Laszlo's reanimating dead flesh project. He even brings up an argument between Nadja and Laszlo that they had completely forgotten about and moved on from entirely. Personally, I think they should have left this guy asleep. It seems like they also came to that conclusion and want to end all association with Jerry. And of course, their first idea is to, how do I say this? Have him meet the true death. Guillermo, though, always the voice of reason as usual, says, no, I have a better idea. He takes Jerry to the Vampire Council to see the guide, because she's probably the only one around who is still on board with this taking over North America thing. She quickly assumes, oh, maybe he's the chosen one. And then says she also thought that Nandor, Nadja, and Laszlo each could have been the chosen one. But not Colin Robinson. Never Colin Robinson. Speaking of Colin, he didn't seem to be doing too well in episode 1. I'm not really sure why. By the end of it, he's tooling around on a rascal scooter. But in episode 2, he's back to being perfectly fine. So, I don't know what's up with that. Maybe it'll come back later, but honestly, that guy's really been through it this entire series. We also learned that he's been pulling a Hawkeye and eavesdropping on conversations inside of the air vents around the house. So Colin becomes like Laszlo's Igor and assists him in his Frankenstein Rocky Horror reanimation thing. And he reveals that he is certified with every rideshare app because it's a good way for him to eat. And he offers that to Laszlo as a way to find a head for his monster. Surprisingly, it actually works. I mean, it doesn't work out for the guy that they chose, but it works out for their project. And surprisingly, Colin is the one that figures out how to make the monster not angry and violent, which is something that Laszlo has perpetually struggled with. This monster, by the way, dresses like a toddler who's been allowed to pick out their own clothes for the first time. The one consistent thing throughout all 3 of these episodes is the roommate's inability to decide on what to do with Guillermo's old room under the stairs. The disagreement is really mostly between Nandor and Laszlo. Nandor wants a home gym space, and Laszlo wants a science space. Okay? I mean, he already has his whole lab to do whatever he wants in. But okay, whatever. Nadja just wants the house to be clean. Laszlo has bags and loose parts for his monster lying around, and she's sick of looking at it. Honestly, I don't blame her. That's gross. Even for vampires, that's gross. Now, the situation upsets Colin, and he fears he's going to be kicked out of the house due to shifting hierarchy. He made a whole chart and everything, right? It kind of looks like a murder board on the power dynamic and whatever in the house. So this leads him going and asking Guillermo if he'll move back in. Now, ever since he became human again, he has been living in Laszlo's old greenhouse shed thing, which again, could have been another space Laszlo could have used instead of the Harry Potter closet, but whatever. And nobody knew he was there except for Nandor. So for months, I guess Laszlo just stopped using this outdoor space. Guillermo, though, doing really well for himself. finally living his own life. He's got a job. It's at Panera, but working there, he has somehow managed to get a job at a financial office. Like, he dropped some food off, and an old friend offered him a job in the mailroom, which is great. It's $3 more an hour. And this camera crew, that's really, I thought was, obviously Guillermo's part of the story now, but I thought their documentary was mostly about the vampires. But I guess they're also invested in Guillermo, so they're trying to follow him into work. And he's telling them, no. This is an actual job. You can't be here. So they concoct a story about how they are doing a documentary on the financial world and manage to get inside to continue following Guillermo around. But the crew isn't the only one having difficulty letting Guillermo live his own life. Nadja, who really doesn't seem to have a whole lot going on in these episodes, worries that Guillermo won't be able to reassimilate into human society. Not because she cares about him in any way, but because she heard about another familiar that tried to do the same thing and ended up losing it, coming back to the vampire that they worked for and permanently unaliving them. So she's really just concerned about herself and decides she's also going to infiltrate this company to make sure Guillermo thrives and succeeds, even though he really has no qualifications or skills. Also, Nandor starts working there as a janitor to keep an eye on him. Now, because of Nadia and her involvement, he goes from mailroom to analyst real quick. And like I said, no qualifications or skills, so I can't imagine this going well at all. Now, as I mentioned, Colin tries to convince Guillermo to move back in the house. And when he tells him no, absolutely not, he suggests sleep hypnosis. In fact, all of episode 3 is about sleep hypnosis. It's titled Sleep Hypnosis. Apparently, these 4 vampires are the only 4 vampires who just did not know that you could sleep hypnotize another vampire. Apparently, it's a well-known thing, except for in this house. Personally, I don't think hypnotizing another vampire in any way should be something they're capable of doing. It just seems weird to me. Like, I'm a big vampire person and I've never heard of that. But, of course, it goes horribly wrong, and this results in Guillermo having to go to the Baron for help. And he offers to record his own hypnosis on Guillermo's phone so he can play it for everyone when they're sleeping and set them back to right. I don't know if anybody else saw this coming, but it worked a little bit too well. And they didn't even know each other anymore. And the funny thing is, they're still arguing over what to do with the Harry Potter closet, which was the entire reason, or at least a part of the reason why the hypnosis started in the first place. Luckily, though, the guide shows up and manages to correct everyone properly. But Guillermo, with all the vampire nonsense going on, forgets to delete it again. Anybody else see this coming? Because I did. I full on knew he would forget to delete the Baron's recording off of his phone. And apparently he falls asleep listening to something play on his phone. So when he wakes up, he thinks he is there to do an interview with Nandor because he hasn't met him before. And now Nandor says he'll fix him. That he'll fix him later on. And I guess we'll see if he actually does in episode 4. Although I'm sure he will, because the last thing Nandor says is, "I forgot how loudly he breathes." So I'm sure Guillermo will be back to normal soon, hopefully. Anyway, that's all for this week's video. Subscribe if you want to. Click the like button if you feel like it. I'll see you next time. Be excellent to each other. Bye.